Hey there guys, Nervous Rain Cards. Today, I'm going to be showing off my premium Luard deck profile based around Dragfall Luard, as I do actually have a lot of problems with the current Standard Plus Luard build when it comes to fighting the Tier 1 premium decks, as it feels honestly a little, I don't know, I don't want to say slow, just clunky. It just feels kind of clunky in all honesty. And so, this deck is definitely the most streamlined deck that I have personally been able to build to fight against what, a lot of people consider the toxic tier 1 decks right now. Since we don't have a panelist as of the time of this recording, please Bushy, make one. That would be extremely helpful, because once we hit all these really toxic tier 1 decks, yes, other decks will rise up, but I do feel like that the Standard Plus list will then become a lot more consistently viable against them, because it definitely has the power output. It's just the fact that it doesn't synergize with striding at all, and more Festa as your actual kill potential. It just makes really weird, because how you really want to power up stuff, is using V-Series Drag Heart, but then that means you're giving up on Turret Striding unless you're going first, and it's a really high roll to go first deck, and I personally do not like decks that specifically only want to go first to function, only decks only really want to go second to function. Of course, a lot of decks will naturally have, I want to go first or second, depending on how things go, which is just in general a nice thing, but I don't like building decks. It's like, my whole win gimmick is based on a dice flip, essentially, is where almost all my, advantage comes from. And yeah, I'm not a big fan of that. But with that being said, let's get into the actual deck profile. And so here we are at the actual deck profile. Let's just go on ahead and get started. Starting off with the 4 Dragfall Luard, as this is of course the main grade 3. Being able to just instantly ride this and then using your drop zone to stride is just so helpful, and the fact that you don't have to keep using cards from your hand is just so good. Of course, the obviously downside the fact that it's an 11k card, and it doesn't have a force marker. That is very sad, but unfortunately I do have to deal. Fortunately, you do have the on-stride skill to also call out a grade 1 or less, and that card's ritual, you can pop something in the same column. This actually does come in handy against certain matchups a lot, especially if you kill their Hongli or their Juan. It's just a good skill, a good card, love it overall. And, of course, using 1 PBD for the engine, as well as one of each of the other cards for the engine, wherever the heck I ended up putting Bende. Now, I'm only playing one of each just because while the Superior Guard engine is great, it only works when going first, and honestly, it's just a nice bonus. And with it just being one of, I can still call out both of these if need be with the main. They're just another 5k targets. Blaster Dark is still, a solid card to end up riding, and even if I can still only call this out, I can still just do a deck filter for Dark. And if need be, PBD can just be a simple stride, or a bit simple PG discard if need be, or if I am on first stride and don't have a proper drop zone set, can also ditch it. So having one of each of them stops them from being truly dead cards, because if you play more than one of them and you go second, you have a bunch of dead cards in your deck. I'm just not a big fan of that, especially since the whole point of this is to try to turbo it into being able to properly be able to fight against a lot of these more oppressive, very unfair decks a lot of the time. So there's that. Then rounding up the grade 2s, I'm playing 2 Leofel as well as 4 Dagda. They're just good cards overall. Leofel can help search out many of your grade 1s you need that can help things get going. And of course, Dagda is your main key card. I've considered dropping this down by 1 and putting in another Leofel. This is another thing. But of course, Dagda is so important to the strategy that you just need him. And I do not play any Morphesses because Dagda and Morphesses do not actually work together. But, you could have the idea of throwing in a Morphessa to be like, if you can't Dagda, then you can still do a Morphessa. And Morphessa is still a really good card, just Morphessa and Dagda don't work together, and Dagda also mills out 2 cards, since this is focused on Dragfall, that means we are still trying to compress and loop as much as possible. Then going into the grade 1s, of course, you have the 4 in the main, like every single list, and standard, premium, whatever. The main's just such an insane card. I hope that it doesn't get hit, but, it's understandable if it ever gets limited in the future, but that's just how it be. Then next, I am playing 4 copies of Dragsaber Estrus. She's just a good card, and recycling PG/grade 1s to pull it with Dagda is so good. There's so many times you just get down to the bottom of your deck and you're out of grade 1, and you just loop back to Ezra's, and then you have 2 Ezra's in your hand, and then you just call out both of these with the Dagdas, and you just keep going, and the fact that this is what lets Dagda essentially keep going is so good. Like, trust me, it's insane. Then, more grade 1s, let's go. 3 Blue Espada. I am not playing 4 Blue Espada for one very key reason, right? That's because when you get into the late game, you do not want to be milling, and this deck can actually go through its deck really quickly, and it gets to the point sometimes where if you want a body on board, you'd have to play a Blue Espada from hand, but you don't want to because its mill is mandatory. Of course, you know, being able to get 10k and milling 3 cards is really good in the deck, but of course you need to be careful since you are only playing one of each of the Superior Ride engine, as that is something that is there that you need to pay attention to for just in case you screw up. But, you know, like I said, I'm not banking on the Superior Ride engine. It's just a nice bonus if I get it, and it's just really nice. I mostly honestly just use it just to secure Blaster Dark as a grade 2 ride, because I am only playing 8 grade 2s, but, you know, that's just how it be. But Blue Spot is still a really good card. I'm just not a personal big fan of playing it at 4, just in case I need to play it to the board, and I don't want to mill it anymore. Then 2 Karens, 2 Belial Owl, and 2 Brandwin. They're just all really good cards. Let's see if I can adjust my lighting here. I still don't have a good lighting setup. I need to figure out something. But 2 of each of these really good cards. Countercharge really good. Belial I only really draw, or Abyssal, not Belial. Abyssal I only really draw when going second consistently with him, but you know, it's just nice on-the-man 5k call out with that, and if need be, I can draw. Brandwin isn't even here for the grade 3 search. If I get it early game, that is nice, because I am only playing the 4 or 5 grade 3s technically. I really only want to be on 4, but you know, I mostly have this in here to be a 13k body, so that with Morfessa it swings for 28 on its own with the battle door, so you know, it's just really strong. Any kind of booster means that your opponent's going to have to guard with at least a 20 or more than 20k shield with battle door, so that's just really strong, really good. And for the final grade 1, I am playing Hanali. Now Hanali is very much a double-edged sword in this, but it's what you need to fight against so many of these toxic decks right now in the tier 1 meta. So be careful with this, you know, just like many things in this deck, you need to be thinking. This is not no Unga Boonga deck. You do need to be thinking a lot with this build, and that's just simply what it comes down to. Now, I am also playing 1 copy of the Vicro here, just because it's another 5k I can bring out with the main. It gives me Soul and Countercharge, nice resource card. And of course, I'm playing V-Series Root as the starter, because V-Stars are just too much value, and just in general. Then moving on to the triggers, playing 4 of the Raven, because Raven is strong, Raven is good. 4 V-Series Heals, because, you know, shield power in general. Now, I'm not playing any Stride Crit since I am playing Dragfall, so I am actually playing the Premium Collection Crit that goes to Soul, gives 10k to Vanguard. This also can make Morfessa even more scary, as, like I said, I'm trying to pressure, I'm trying to control, trying to do as much as possible. Then I'm playing 2 original Belial Owls, you know, because stacking them with Morfessa gets you even more draw, or stacking these with Ezra's also just gets you more draw. They go back to deck. It's just crits going back to deck. Same with the Ravens, to just try and get some more triggers back. Now, I was actually playing 4 Belial, but of course the lower shield power as well as the lower trigger power does hurt. So I'm actually playing also 2 Vanilla Critical. Now you may say, why this? Why don't I actually just play something like, you know, Strike Fire Crit just in case, which I was at first, but I have found a few situations where I want to call out, or I'm out of 5Ks in the deck, and I'm needing to, you know, get stuff out. Of course, while these are triggers, sometimes you just need another 5k, and these are 5ks, and they're the higher shield power. So in case I need to, I can do that, so I don't have to worry about trying to rip heals out of my deck to the field. And it's a last-ditch effort, but it's still very much a tactic that is worth considering, as well as since they're vanillas, I mean, Cyclones can bump them up, which I guess is a spoiler for what's in the G-Zone. Then moving on to the G-Zone, 3 Morfessa. Morfessa's just really strong, really good. You could play 4, I just only have 3, so it's just 3. I have gone to actually a couple of games where I have gone to the 3rd one, but I've never gone past the 3rd one, so yeah. But for some reason, you needed other Stride. There's always Dragabyss. Dragabyss is really good for if you're being CB denied. It's a good first Stride while you're on PvE, or even late game, if you know, like I said, if you're being CB denied, the Ritual Cross is really nice. The fact you can also search out, you know, 2 ritual cards, you know, to kill things is just really strong. Basically, these two are just flip targets. One Dogma, one Cyclone. I'm actually going to replace this with another Cyclone. I have the other one coming in the mail right now. This is literally just flip fodder anyways. These are just here for whenever you need to call up the triggers. Makes them big, possibly. And, yeah. Like I said, just waiting on my other Cyclone to come in the mail still. And then, rounding up the last of the strides themselves, two, Phantom Blaster Diablos, just auto-insert matchups. You fight the random guy that's trying to try hard with Giza. You're just like, nah, fam. We don't do that around here. Then for the G-Guards, two Jelly Dough, one Brunox, just in case you're bricking, one Plot Maker because it's only 5k more shield than your normal heal, so it's not as good as it used to be, as well as one copy of Darkwell Dragon. This card can get really big in the late game, but, with that being said, overall, that's, it for the deck profile. Now, for combo stuff, I guess, there's honestly not too much to go for. I was kind of already explaining how the main can end up calling out, your vanilla crits if need be, and you'll have two Cyclones up most likely. So these will actually sit at 15k bodies, which are really good. And if need be for some reason you need to chunk them in the front row, Morpheus will make them 30k with an extra crit and Battle Door. It's really strong. You can also call out, Vicro here just to get more resources, or Belial if you need to draw, of course, since you're going first. And the problem with Belial is that whenever you're striding, you can't perform the alternate cost unless for some reason your opponent is sitting on a grade 4 body, which is never going to happen in Premium, at least not yet. We'll see how Overdress goes. But, it just comes down to, really using your resources properly, resurrecting your Ezra's into your hand to be able to get stuff back, using Leah Falls when need be to call out your blue Espadas, to keep milling out stuff, just to... Really, it just comes down to the fact there's not, a whole bunch of true combo, really trying to figure out. It's just, you have a nice set of tools, and it's super dependent on the situation and what you're fighting against, of what you'll end up going into, how you'll end up handling, and trying to adapt to the situation. Of course, if need be, if you really want to kill something with Dragfall, you can always call out either Vicro here or Bissell Owl, or I keep getting them mixed up, Belial Owl, so that you can, kill something in the sim column. That, like I said, that control can actually change a lot of games around, because a lot of people aren't expecting you, when you're playing Luard, to be able to consistently kill the opponents. So, of course, Drag Art can also kill a thing, which is also really nice. But for right now, this is the list I'm going with to try and fight against what's the current meta. I find that this is just the most streamlined. I'm going in build that has the least amount of chances to brick, because like I said, against those really toxic decks, Standard Plus build just doesn't work as well to me. But at the same time, if you want to play that instead, that's not bad. It's still really good, and if we get to a point where the meta gets literally a turn slower, that Standard Plus build's going to be way better. But with that being said, comment down below what you guys think on the deck profile. If you have any questions, please ask. That's what I'm always here for. And with that being said, keep playing the games you want to play, and as always, have fun.